In 1961, Pablo Casals, one of the music world's greatest cellists, was guest of honor at a concert of 400 Suzuki children at Tokyo's Bunkyo Hall. Addressing the audience, he said, as he wept,
"I am witness to one of the most moving scenes that one can see. I feel such proof of heart here, of desire of a better world. How wonderful to see grown-up people think of the smallest like these, to teach them to begin life with noble feelings, with noble deeds. Perhaps it is music that will save the world."
These are the Suzuki children, trained from infancy to hear and feel the most sublime sounds. They are imbued with faith in themselves and in life. They wake to music, hear it throughout the day, and are cradled by it at night. Music becomes their language, spoken with the joy of accomplishment, nurtured by love. Suzuki spent many years developing his theories on talent education. He describes his method as
a fledgling nightingale is taken from the nest of wild birds and placed in the company of a master bird. He listens to the warbling of the master bird, and within a month he is singing just as beautifully. So it is with children.
Obviously, kids all over the world learn to speak, even though there isn't any book which says these are the 5 steps that you need in order to be able to speak. Indeed, it's almost impossible to prevent them from learning how to speak. In fact, if kids live in a culture where there are 2 or 3 languages, they'll pick them all up. And indeed, if the mother only speaks one language and the aunt only speaks another, they'll direct the language appropriately to those 2 people. I'm sure many people through the history of the world have hypothesized that you could learn other things the way you learn language, if you're bathed in it, if it's part of a natural intercourse among people. But the difference with Suzuki is he took this idea very seriously.
When he researched this himself, he began to really pinpoint the steps that go into language learning. And he discovered some very specific things which he then incorporated into the approach for teaching the violin. It's really a very simple procedure that goes on the way children learn to speak.
Suzuki's mother tongue method uncovered a direct correlation between language learning and talent education. As with speech, music learning begins at a very early age when the mind is most receptive. Young children naturally possess an insatiable thirst for learning, which has the potential to develop into great ability. Talent education, just like language development, is dependent on parental involvement. Early on, the parent learns to play the instrument along with the child, stimulating the child's desire to imitate. As the child's desire to play grows, parental support and praise remain critical to the child's overall development. In a spoken world, the sights and sounds of the surrounding environment motivate children to produce their own sound. Shaping the environment with music is equally essential in developing the child's desire to create music. The process of creating any sound relies on developing the ear. This underscores the importance of listening to music while learning to play. For instance, Suzuki students regularly listen to expert recordings and are encouraged to imitate what they hear. The success of these concepts lies in the understanding that all children can learn. This concept is grounded in the belief that all children, not just the talented, or those genetically gifted, or the musically inclined, but all children can learn. All Suzuki students begin their training by learning the international bow. This signals the beginning of the lesson and demonstrates respect between the teacher and the student. The child is then taught to stand quietly and focused through a full chorus of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. By the time Suzuki students have studied for several years, they have memorized 2 or 3 hours of music, and the numerous pieces are refined and remain at the students' fingertips.
That's a low sound. Yeah, let me hear it.
In traditional instruction, ear training is often delayed until the child is fluent in musical notation, but the Suzuki method teaches pitch recognition and rhythm from the very first lesson.
I think it's the most important thing, training of the listening, of learning how to listen to music and how to listen to yourself. And I think having a lot of ear training early on in music lessons is very good, because we need to learn to listen, not only to other people, but we need to learn to listen to ourselves, so that what we're playing is what we mean from inside.
A strings, go.
Suzuki often uses group lessons to help children learn by example, but training is still individual in the classroom and at home.
I believe that the heart of Suzuki instruction is individual. Dr. Suzuki believes very much in the individual child's ability, in not measuring that child against any other child. Your best yardstick for measurement is that child himself or herself. The instruction even has its own support system. The parent, who is the home teacher, is right there in that private lesson situation, so that can hardly be anything I can think of that's more individual.
I think one of the leading things that makes the Suzuki method different and so successful is the many ways it motivates the child. And there can be no better motivation than knowing that your parents think that you're really doing something wonderful.
The guiding principle of talent education is character first, then ability. The goal is not to create a professional musician, but to create a better human being.
I feel that any parent involved with what their child does in the nurturing stages keeps them growing as a person. As a teacher, that makes my job much easier, to know that the child is hopefully working on what they should work on at home and then come back to the lesson prepared. One of my roles at the beginning of the year is to make it clear to their parent that they may not have musical experience, but they can still take on this project as long as they have time to spend with their child at home. And I think that's something we still keep working on, because people are so involved and overworked that finding time, quality time to work with their children is one of my primary goals as a teacher. All right, now just think about you and the chair.
Being the type of child my daughter is, it makes me have to look at our relationship and the struggles that I see with us. When we're having struggles with the cello, we're usually struggling outside of there. So for me, it teaches me a lot about myself, and it makes me have to be more flexible. I look at it in several different ways. First of all, what I think it does is help her to be disciplined, and I think she really needs that. And I think most children need to learn that there's something in life you consistently have to do. And it also teaches them that to be good at something, many times you can become good by simply repeating it over and over. And so to me, I don't care if she plays in the symphony orchestra. I mean, that's one of her goals among many other ones. But to me, if she can just play for relaxation when she's older, or play for her own pleasure, or play if she has children for them, it would be well worth it.
Suzuki says, everyone concerned with the development of the child must be of one mind and one spirit. The child will absorb something of the feeling, grow to be more feeling adults, and consequently make a kinder and better world within his or her reach.